people that bench press a lot and sometimes have shoulder issues. And is that natural? Is that something that you become? What is it that you're going to? Granted, it could be because of a lot of things, but what's one of the first steps you're going to take to fixing it? And what are some of the things that contribute to this?
Well, first things first. If someone's having a shoulder issue, I am 10 out of 10 times sending them to one of my physical therapists to get assessed, maybe get some tissue work done, and to find out whether if he or she continues to do this, is it going to cause more damage? And why would I ever have someone continue it if, if they're training for a bench press competition, or if they you don't even necessarily need to bench press to get a bench stronger. So, I'm always a believer, like if you're feeling pain, no matter what it is, you can work around it.
Well, I think that's an important point. Why did the bench press become such a staple for
just
training?
A feat of strength. It was a very quantifiable measure for people to test strength. And for years it was how much you bench. Then it became well, if you're asking how much you bench, it's almost a joke now. Why don't you ask me how much I squat or how much I deadlift? Which, listen, the 3 big lifts in a powerlifting meet are bench, squat, deadlift. So these are ways that people can quantify how strong they are, but there's so many other ways to quantify it.
I mean, is it sometimes too, I know we're talking generically because we don't know the specifics of whatever person A here that's got a hurt shoulder, but is it maybe it has to do with their form? Maybe their elbows are flaring out and they're putting too much pressure. Maybe they're going too heavy.
There are people I've seen for 30 years who benched, or I know that are older than me and have great bench presses, and they bench press incorrectly, and they've never had a shoulder issue or an elbow issue.
Yeah.
So it's just because someone's doing something incorrectly doesn't guarantee that they're going to be in pain. Now, the evidence would lead me to believe that they're probably going to develop some issues, but the human body's funny. Like you can do there's just certain movements that you can get someone to do correctly where they're like, oh, my elbow's flaring up and my tendonitis or whatever it might be. So, I always believe in having sound technique. I always believe that there's an efficient way to lift a weight or to perform something. And to me, strength is a skill. So, be very skillful and very mindful of how you're performing that lift. And if you're doing it correctly, you should reduce the risk of injury. Now, if your body is not set up to be able to perform those movements due to injuries or inefficiencies in movement patterns, yes, you should be picking a better, you should be selecting a better exercise to go train.
See, what I've done in the past, and when I've continued to bench press, even with injured shoulders, I've had shoulder injuries, is just I've either switched up my grip, using a more neutral grip, or gone to dumbbells. Just really moved away from the fixed position of a barbell on a flat bench.
Right.
And it helped. Yeah, it helped immediately. But at the same time, I started to think, do I even really need a bench press in my life? When am I going to use it?
General Pop doesn't.
No.
They don't need it. I mean, I was doing floor presses yesterday. And I love the floor press, and it's a very safe movement. And it's a little bit, but I mean, I have healthy shoulders, knock on wood, so I can train, different exercises. But if you are injured and your doctor has given you permission to train, find what doesn't hurt and train it.
It's another thing when I was, when you're training for a sport like football, using a hammer strength to actually get behind it and push out makes sense.
Like a jammer, like one of those jammers are great.
Because you're going to be creating separation. That makes sense. But right now, I don't really need that.
Right.
I don't really try to create separation or get into conflicts with people if I can help it.
Right.
And if I do, I just run.
Right,
because,
sure. But you're also very content with the way you train, and you're very content with how you feel. And for me, that's a good enough answer. So the reality is that your body's healthy, you look good, and you feel great, and it's working doing what you're doing. So my advice to you would be to continue doing what you're doing. I mean, it's not, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now, if someone was bored or they were hurt, then yes, we have to find a different approach, but you're great.
I know. Tell me more.